America's turning 250, and it's time to rock out with our forefathers. American-made, battle-ready style for true patriots. Whether you're marching in the parade, grilling in the backyard, or raising a toast to liberty, do it in the gear that screams freedom. Celebrate 250 years of USA in style. Wear your American pride loud. Trendjackers.etsy.com. Grab yours before the fireworks. America's turning 250, and it's time to rock out with our forefathers. American-made, battle-ready style for true patriots. Whether you're marching in the parade, grilling in the backyard, or raising a toast to liberty, do it in the gear that screams freedom. Celebrate 250 years of USA in style. Wear your American pride loud. Trendjackers.etsy.com. Grab yours before the fireworks.
Live from Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sports Bash is also presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Sports Bash is brought to you by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash and get a free dessert with your meal. By Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. Check them out online at coachescollectiblesny.com. And by the Marty Lyons Foundation, the official charity of Sports Bash Media. For more information, go to martylyonsfoundation.org. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome to the show on this kind of really yucky, miserable Thursday here on Long Island. And Tony let me in before. It was a gust of wind, and I'm pretty heavy myself. So even that gust of wind was moving me a little bit. So it's really yucky out there, and I think it's going to get worse. It's supposed to clear up tomorrow, but right now, I mean, I can't speak for what it's like out in Suffolk County, but if you're anywhere in this Levittown area, just, be careful because it's starting to get, pretty bad out there and windy. So please be safe. Make sure you're following Sports Bash Media on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and make sure you are subscribing to Govs Comedy Club podcast on YouTube and Facebook. Sports Bash is now also available on Apple Music and Spotify. I already mentioned Tony's name, so I might as well get this out of the way right now. Tony Walker, my producer, who hosts the Knock 'em Dead Comedy Show from Monday through Friday, 11 to 12:30. And I apologize, I didn't get a chance to listen to any of the show today. I was a little preoccupied with something. if you understand what I'm saying.
I do.
Yes, he does. Later on in the show, I'll be joined by Kelley Franco from the 3 Inning Fan podcast. Lots to talk with her about baseball. The World Series is heading back to Toronto. We'll talk to her about that. Yankees and Mets are in the middle of their off seasons or just starting their off seasons, and we'll talk to her, get her thoughts about what the Yankees and Mets might do. And later on in the show, Long Island Nets held Media Day today. The Long Island Nets are the G League affiliate of the Brooklyn Nets, and because it's Media Day and I couldn't be there, they are more than happy to present to us the head coach of the Long Island Nets, Mfon Udofia, and he's going to join us on the program in our final segment, so we look forward to that. We'll also have What's Hot at ticketbash.com, the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, and we'll check out the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. There's so much to talk about. I mean, we could talk about the weather at 516-465-3990. And I do feel somewhat, what's the word I'm looking for? Suited, I guess, to talk about the weather because I did take a meteorology class when I was in college. And the only reason why I took the meteorology class was because the course ended with a weather report. Like they filmed you like as if you were on TV as a meteorologist doing a weather report. And I got an A in that class. So I feel pretty good that, I didn't get too many A's when I was in college, but I did get an A in that class. And again, the only reason why I took it was because of the broadcasting component that was there at the end. But all I can tell you right now is there's more than a few cumulus clouds in the air outside. It's yucky. It's yucky. So if you don't have to go anywhere, and I know you hear it on the news all the time, if you don't have to go anywhere, don't schlep your butt around, stay inside if you can. Obviously, you have to work, and you have things to do, but it's definitely not a time to go to the backyard and go play ball with the kids. That's definitely not what's going on outside. And our local high school, where my younger son Jared goes to school and where Bradley went to school, MacArthur has a home football game tonight, and the first thought that comes into your mind is, well, if it's like this and it's only going to get worse, do they still play the game or do they move it to another time? And that brings up a whole nother issue, because one of the big reasons why some Long Island high schools have to play football games on a Thursday night, technically, historically, you would play football games Friday nights, Friday Night Lights, or you play on Saturday afternoons. There are some cases now where games have to be played on Thursday night because there's a lack of officials. And that brings up, we can do a whole show on that, on high school officials and the parents' behavior and a reason why that, there's not enough high school football officials. So basically, if you spread out high school games over, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and some of the Catholic League games take place on Sundays. So you literally you might have some officials that are working 3, maybe 4 games in a week, and the reason they have to do it, they don't have enough of them. So you can't have too many games in one day. You've got to spread it out. You've got the games in Suffolk County. You got the games in Nassau County. You got the Catholic League games as well. But this is a day, man, I'm telling you right now, certainly if Bradley was playing tonight, yes, suck it up when you go. But this is not a night to be outside watching a football game, unless, of course, you have a vested interest in it. So if you're going, just, be careful and protect yourself against the elements. Here's the real thing that I wanted to start off with, because we've spent so much time on this show, and they've talked about it a lot on other sports talk shows and podcasts, and it's almost like sounding like a broken record. Because when you talk about the same subject over and over and over again, it tends to get a little monotonous, and quite frankly, for you, the viewer and the listener, it tends to get a little bit boring. But I don't think this is boring at all, because I think this is going to be a topic for local fans, especially Jets fans, until the problem is rectified. And that problem is Woody Johnson. And the reason why I bring it up, because I wasn't really going to, I was going to maybe talk about some other things first, but the reason why I brought this up is that there is a podcast that former Jets quarterback Jordan Travis is on. And if you don't know the name Jordan Travis was a Jets draft pick. He was a quarterback at Florida State, and he was a highly touted NFL quarterback prospect a couple of years ago, and then he had a really bad season-ending injury to his leg, and his leg was in bad shape. But the Jets took a flyer on him later in the draft. I don't remember exactly what round it was. It might have been the third or the fourth round, where because if this guy was healthy, he would have been a first-round draft pick. But he got hurt, missed season-ending injury, and he never was able to recover. Last year, I think he spent 2 years in training camp with the Jets, and he had to retire because of the injury. I mean, this poor guy went from being this highly touted NFL quarterback prospect to now had to retire and do something else, and sounds like he's trying to get into broadcasting. Maybe he'll eventually get into coaching or whatever, but he was doing his podcast yesterday, and the subject of Woody Johnson came up. And it came up because, if you recall, last week, Woody Johnson was very critical of Justin Fields, talking about his quarterback rating, and it would be nice if we could just complete a pass. I mean, stupid crap that the owner, like, especially one that we've come to know, doesn't really know much about football and hasn't really bothered to learn about it over 25 years of owning the Jets. And this guy is ripping Justin Fields because he, especially in the game before last, he really, really struggled when he was benched, and they went to Tyrod Taylor in the second half. But Woody Johnson is just a freaking buffoon. And then Justin Fields, man, I give him credit. That first press conference, he handled it like a pro, very mature, much more mature than your I don't even know how old Woody Johnson is. I think he's probably in his 60s, but just showing so much maturity in the way he handled the questions about it. And then he goes out there, and the Jets put up, 39 points, and they get their first win of the year against the Bengals. But this was brought up to Jordan Travis on that podcast yesterday. And remember, Jordan was injured for his 2 years with the Jets. And the other host asked him about, Woody Johnson, talking about him. And you know what Jordan Travis says? He never came up to me and asked me how I was feeling, never came up to see how he was doing. All Woody Johnson would come up to him and say, "You ever going to get healthy?" And that's a quote, because I went back, I saw the tweet about it, and I went back and watched it, and it's the exact words that came out of Jordan Travis's mouth. Woody Johnson went up to him and said, "You ever going to get healthy?" I mean, are we being serious here? You're the owner of the team, and you go up to your injured quarterback who you spent, and I consider a third or fourth round pick still a pretty, high draft pick. Again, it's not first and second, but you're still spending a draft. Listen, any draft pick you spend, if that player doesn't work out, it was a wasted draft pick. But you took a flyer on this kid. He was part of your organization, and he's working his ass off to try and get back on the field. And that's what you go up to him and you say, "You ever going to get healthy?" And I think now you are going to start to see a lot of things are going to come out about Woody Johnson. You've already, he already puts his foot in his mouth enough. So eventually he's going to say something publicly that's going to burn him. And now you have Jordan Travis speaking out about him. And I think this could be very much like the Me Too movement. And I'm not, obviously that was awful. But I think a lot of people refer to other kinds of situations now following in those footsteps, like, "Oh yeah, that happened to me too." So if Jordan Travis was injured and Woody Johnson goes up to him and says, "You ever going to get healthy?" I mean, how disrespectful is that? And I got to imagine that there were other players that may have the same feelings. Now, you have players who love Woody Johnson and only speak highly about the Johnsons. And when I say the Johnsons, there was the time when Woody Johnson was off in London as the U.S. ambassador to London, and then Christopher Johnson was running the Jets in his place. So there are players who will say, "Oh, we love the Johnson family." But now you have this crap that evolves where you have the quarterback trying to get back on the field and the owner doesn't even ask him how he's doing. And you could say all you want about the tyrant that George Steinbrenner was, and he wanted to win in the worst way. But to a man, you speak to players, like if somebody was hurt, George Steinbrenner would go into that locker room and put his arm around the guy, how you doing and everything like that. You hear about stories about other owners that have done the same thing. And you've got this owner who doesn't even ask the injured player how he's doing. What can I do to help? Does your family need anything? You ever going to get healthy? That's what you say? And I think it was a couple of weeks ago, Tony, I think I called him a dweeb.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, it was right, a dweeb. And that's what he is. He is, and again, I go back to not wanting to sound like a broken record. And there have been battles for this award in New York. And I can't speak for every single professional team all over the country because we don't follow it enough. When you hear really bad stuff, it comes out in the media and you can talk about it. But there's always been this ongoing battle, and I've been covering sports for 35, 36 years now. Who's the worst owner in New York, New Jersey sports? I mean, there was a time when people thought the Islanders had the worst ownership. There was times when people thought the Knicks and Rangers had the worst ownership. The Nets, the Mets. Some people think the Yankees have the worst ownership now because Hal Steinbrenner can't hold a candle to what his father was. But I think it's without a shadow of a doubt right now that the worst owner in New York sports, and I can't take 100% credit for this because the New York Post had a story about it the other day, but Woody Johnson, hands down, hands up, hands down, hands in the middle, hands all over the place, is the worst owner in New York, New Jersey sports. And it's not even close, everybody. It's not even close. In 25 years of owning the team, the amount of non-playoff years to playoff years. And I know there was the back-to-back AFC Championship game appearances, but you know what? That's not on you, Woody. That was Mike Tannenbaum getting the players. That was Rex Ryan coaching those players those 2 years. That had nothing to do with you. And all that has happened since then is incompetent move after incompetent move. And again, think about how stupid this man is. What just happened on Sunday? We lost one of the all-time great players in Jets franchise history, Nick Mangold, tragically with a kidney problem. And Jet fans and the organization mourning his loss because not only what he did on the field, what he did off the field. The players go out and they come back and they beat the Bengals for their first win of the season. But we're still reeling as Jet fans. We're still reeling because at the end of the day, the most important thing everybody's thinking about in the last few days as far as the Jets are concerned is still the loss of Nick Mangold and his wife and 4 kids that he left behind. And then what do we hear about before this Jordan Travis story? I go on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and I see Jet season ticket holders talking about the letter they got, the email they got, with about roughly half of the Jet season ticket holders getting a price increase for next year. Are you effing kidding me? This man had the audacity. Now, if you were going to raise ticket prices, that's your decision, and it's the fans' decision whether they want to renew or not. And I know plenty of people over the last few days have told me they are not renewing their Jet season tickets. I mean, why would you get them? You can go on ticketbash.com and get tickets for Jet games at a fraction of what it would cost you to get season tickets. But I understand people like to support the team. They're Jet fans. I've been a Jet season ticket holder since this year. My dad's had them since that year. But Woody, how flipping tone deaf are you? That you send out an email announcing a ticket price increase just days after one of your legendary players passed away. How tone deaf are you? And then we hear this about Jordan Travis. I mean, there's got to be other players that he spoke to like this. And again, I'm sorry I refer to that phrase, but this is going to turn into Me Too, because you're going to have a former player. Maybe it's, identified or not identified. Maybe it's a former employee. Hey, we also talked about this on the show a few weeks ago, the sexual harassment thing that was going on with 2 former Jet employees that were fired because the woman filed sexual harassment case against the president of the Jets. So maybe we're going to get more of that too. It is a horrible culture at One Jets Drive. A horrible culture. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but you heard me say it a couple of weeks ago, that if somebody bought the team, if I bought the team, this team needs to be exterminated from top to bottom. And it starts with the owner. And then once you get, if this team was sold, you got to get rid of everybody in that organization, right down to the janitor, because you need to extinguish the stench that is in One Jets Drive because of this stupid owner. I don't want to talk about this every single show. I don't. There's other things to talk about. We try to sneak in good stuff, like the Islanders getting off to a good start, and the Yankees were in the playoffs, and the Mets have some plans here for the offseason, and the Jets are coming off their first win. The Giants have a future with Jackson Dart. The Knicks just started, and the Nets stink too, but anyway. But there's good. St. John's is starting. We're going to talk a lot about St. John's. But every time I want to talk about something good, it seems like I have to go backwards and talk about something that sucks. And I'm sorry, Jet fans, and I feel your pain, and my whole family feels your pain because we're in the same boat that you are. But this is not going to get any better while this man is owning this team. I'm sorry to say. And it's going to take some Me Too's for the NFL to step in and make this guy sell the team. Because he's not just going to pick up and say, oh my God, Peter Schwartz hates me. All Jet fans hate me. I better sell the team because nobody likes me. You think he's going to do that? No. He will sell the team when the NFL says you need to sell the team because this is all inappropriate stuff that's going on. So I don't want bad things to happen to good people, but if stuff happened and it gets out, then so be it. If it gets this man out the door, and maybe a new owner will do the right thing and bring the Jets back to New York too, because that's a subject for a whole nother day as well. We have so much more to do here on the show. We're just getting started, and so I got off on that little rant there. And I think it was worth it, I think it was worth it. When we come back on the show, we're not going to talk about Woody Johnson anymore on the program. I got that out of my system. We're going to switch gears. We're in the middle of a really good World Series, and we've got the Yankees and the Mets turning their attention to 2026 and what they're going to do here in the offseason. And we're going to talk all about that with my first guest on the show coming up after the break, Kelley Franco, the host of the 3 Inning Fan Podcast. It's all coming up right after this.
Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,500 families, raising over $43 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $6,700 each, And your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 76 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Morning Lions Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. This segment of Sports Bash is presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Welcome back to the show on this Thursday. I'm Peter Schwartz. 516-465-3990 is the number to call. We now turn our attention to baseball, and the World Series is heading back to Toronto for Game 6 tomorrow, and lots to talk about the World Series and also about the off seasons for the Yankees and the Mets as we welcome in our first guest of the program. She is the host of the 3 Inning Fan podcast, and she is Kelley Franco. Kelley, it's Peter. How are you?
Peter, I'm delighted to be here today. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know we've been trying to work on this for a couple of weeks, and the stars aligned and the heavens moved, or whatever you want to call it, and we were able to make this work today. And I'm glad that you were able to fit me into your schedule today, because I understand you spent some time with an old friend of mine, Sweeney Murdy, earlier today.
Actually, he said to send his regards. Yeah, we recorded a show at 11, so I'll probably be dropping that tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, he's awesome, and I'm sure that's going to be a great conversation. I don't think there's anybody in the market that was so in tune with baseball, especially the Yankees, when he covered the Yankees for all those years for the Fan, and now he works for MLB. So I'm looking forward to hearing that conversation you had. Let's start with the World Series. And I think before the Fall Classic started, I think it was fait accompli. Most people thought that the Dodgers were going to win this one. I thought the Dodgers would win in 6. A lot of people thought the Dodgers would win in 4 or 5. But here are the Blue Jays now, after taking 2 out of 3 games in Los Angeles. They head home for Game 6 and, if necessary, Game 7 with a 3-2 lead. Let me get your thoughts on the series to date from Games 1 through 5, your thoughts on how things have unfolded.
Well, first of all, I've got to compliment your French. I didn't know this was such a highbrow program. You with the fait accompli.
I didn't. Well, you know what? If you pay attention to enough TV, Kelley, you watch enough shows, and my wife and I are kind of sophisticated when it comes to our TV viewing. You pick these things up. I mean, I'm not smart enough to just know it on my own. I have to see it on television to know what it is. Like, writ of habeas corpus, like I still don't know what that means, but I've heard it on TV a million times.
Well, I'm a lawyer by day, so we can work that one out.
I was gonna get into that a little bit later, but yeah, let's for the moment, considering my brain cells that are functioning today, let's stick to baseball.
So it's been an amazing World Series, and all I can think is that MLB has got to be loving this. They have the Dodgers, which alone the Dodgers have an incredible viewing market. But then they expanded to, as I sometimes say, purchase the entire country of Japan. So they have the Japan viewing market, and then you have all of Canada rooting for the Blue Jays. So I think this has worked out pretty well from a viewership point of view for MLB. And then on top of it, with the way the Dodgers had mowed through the postseason to this point, and they had their ups and downs in the regular season. I mean, they had a couple of ugly series in the regular season, but it was like when the postseason came, they turned it on. I think they only had one loss, right? And we all thought they, might just mow through the Blue Jays like that, but it's not happening.
No, it's not. And as you know well, legends are made in the playoffs. It doesn't matter what sport it is, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, all that stuff. And no different, obviously, in baseball. And there's been legendary players in the postseason, throughout time. And we're seeing that unfold here. And it's about to end, whether it's only one more game or two more games. But Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been amazing during this postseason run. The the Blue Jays opened up that game with back-to-back home runs last night. Vladdy gets the second one. And he has just been incredible. I don't think all of us that follow baseball, I think we knew he was really good when he first came up to the big leagues, and he's become an all-star player. I don't think we ever really knew just how good Vladdy could be. I think he's showing everybody that right now.
I think that's a really good point, Peter. And probably some of it, if I'm going to admit it for myself, is because sometimes I live in a New York bubble and I don't look outside of it. But, he has really grown into a tremendous player. And what makes him even larger than life is that he has the personality to match. And that always helps.
There's no question about it. And, there was this moment where I guess we all thought he was going to go somewhere else. I mean, how are the Blue Jays going to pay him? There was a point where really, a few years ago, like the Blue Jays lost players. And now they're spending money on players. But I still think there was that thought by a lot of people that Vladdy was going to leave via free agency. But credit the Blue Jays for locking him up. And now he's Mr. Toronto. And everybody else in the American League East is going to have to beware of this guy for a very, very long time.
Yeah, remember a year ago we were thinking, maybe if the Mets don't re-sign Pete Alonso, they'll get Vladdy.
Yes, absolutely. And I think he would have looked good in pinstripes too, quite frankly, if he wanted to come to New York and come to the Bronx side of things. I think he would have looked good there as well. The other hero that has emerged for the Blue Jays in this postseason, and he's already got more postseason starts than regular season starts, and that's Trey Savage, who was lights out against the Yankees in the wild card round, and last night, man, he pitched a doozy last night. And how surprised are you by him? And I wonder if they had to go to a game 7, I would imagine that they got him out of there after 7 innings last night. I mean, you might have to see him pitch in game 7 if he had to.
Let me tell you, I can't help but think that at the beginning of the season, you could have had him for a bag of balls on your team.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who he was. They showed a graphic last night showing like the 6 leagues he had pitched in. The first one was, like Ed's Backyard Barbecue Baseball League. I mean, it's unbelievable, the trajectory of him this year. And so, could we see him in game 7? All hands would be on deck.
No question about it. We're talking to Kelley Franco, the host of the 3 Inning Fan podcast, and she's joining us here on Sports Bash. You go over to the other side of the coin. You touched on this with the Dodgers and a lot of the players from Japan on the team, and there's really the one that is he gravitates everybody every time he's at the plate and every time he's now on the mound, and that's Shohei Ohtani. And we can go back and forth for hours on who the face of baseball is. Is it Aaron Judge? Is it Shohei Ohtani? But as much of a Yankee fan as I am, and as much as I love Aaron Judge, I mean, there is nobody else in the game right now that I think fans would spend their money on seeing than Shohei Ohtani. And you just see every time he is up, it seems like he's doing something. I know he's got some bad career postseason numbers, but when he is on his game, like he has been here in the World Series, it is so. I don't want to say it's been fun because here in New York we've seen enough of him, but just for the sports standpoint, we've never really seen anybody like Shohei Ohtani before.
We haven't, Peter. And I'm with you. There's like a natural resistance as a New York sports fan because you want to think like, okay, Aaron Judge, he's my guy. I'm a Yankee fan. But I've kind of been telling myself I need to stop resisting. I need to appreciate the greatness. Even if I'm not rooting for his team, you've got to respect. I mean, it's unbelievable. He is now, I think, the greatest player that ever lived. And I hate to say that because I always would have said it was Babe Ruth, but I'm running out of arguments.
I remember when he chose the Angels over the Yankees, and I'll never say a bad word about Mike Francesa because he treated me so well when I covered the Jets for FAN and doing updates on his show, and I love Mike. But I always, whenever time I see Shohei Ohtani hit a home run or strike somebody out, I think of Mike Francesa saying the Yankees should be very, very lucky that they didn't get Ohtani. And boy, could he have been more wrong on that?
Ouch.
I think that's just, but again, at the time, you didn't know that he was going to be this good. And even after Tommy John surgery, he could still pitch. So it's just amazing. So we go back to Toronto for Game 6 tomorrow, and if necessary, Game 7 on Saturday. The Blue Jays are up 3-2. How do you see the rest of this series unfolding?
Honestly, at this point, it's a crapshoot. I mean, you got 2 games, and if the Jays win tomorrow night, they're done. I mean, it's incredible. I don't know what else to say. I think, with the Dodgers bullpen, that's really the thing that concerns me with them going forward, and with the fact that their bats have quieted down. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because, like I said, in the postseason, they had just turned it on. But the past few days, it hasn't been there. And the Blue Jays bats are incredible. And what a statement last night. Bang, bang. Ernie Clement, Vladdy Guerrero, 2 solo home runs really set the tone. Rogers Center is going to be rocking for Game 6 tomorrow. It was rocking last night for their viewing party as they watched the Blue Jays take Game 5. Let's turn our attention to the locals because for Yankee and Met fans, it's the off season and you start to look ahead and see what the 2026 versions of these two teams are going to look like. Let's start with the Mets first, since they did not go to the postseason, and you could make the argument that they probably have some more work to do. When you look at the Mets as they're constructed now, David Stern's back as the baseball czar, and Carlos Mendoza back as the manager, and obviously that roster is going to change quite a bit as we head towards spring training in 2026. When you look at the Mets in your crystal ball, what do you see happening for them in the offseason? Well, I think it's complex, and there are a few different things going on. But the main one you have to point to is starting pitching. Mm-hmm. I mean, what a hit they took this year. Senga isn't the Senga that he was when the Mets first got him. Yep. He wasn't the ace of the staff, and I said at the beginning of the season, that staff is going to go how Senga goes. And then you had Minaya get hurt, and I liked the Minaya re-signing at the beginning of the season, so I can't condemn it. But he got hurt, and even kind of when he came back, now he's got the loose bodies in his arm, which sounds like some weird Stephen King movie. But anyway, so he's got to get those taken care of. And so we probably waited a little too long to bring the youngsters up. When they brought up McLean, he was obviously fantastic, did not disappoint. Sproat and Tong need a little more polishing up, and I wouldn't be surprised if at least Tong started next year down in AAA, maybe Sproat too. Or maybe those two are trade bait. I do not think that McLean is trade bait. No, he's the real deal. There's no question about it. Yeah. The only one, if Skeens were on the market, I would think about McLean just because Skeens has, I think, 3 years of control left. But I wouldn't get rid of him for someone like Tarek Skubal because he's only got 1 year left. Right. But, you're hearing a lot of talk about some of these big names, and Tarek Skubal is definitely up there. And I think, one big concern is if we have this lockout in 2027, which I don't know what I'm going to do if we do. I'll have to go get a real life. But you'll have to go watch some minor league baseball, and I'm sure the Savannah Bananas will increase their schedule. Oh, my God, will they ever? They will make out like kings, like they're not already. But, so there could be a real feeling of 2026, make it count because we don't know when it's coming back. You think Pete Alonso is back with the Mets? I do. Mm-hmm. I think he comes back. I think they need his bat. I think it's irreplaceable. He's not the greatest defensive first baseman, but I think if you look at the other options out there, you're going to give up a lot and get a little more defense. Like Josh Naylor is going to be better on defense, but you're not going to replace his bat. I can't remember who else is out there. Oh, well, one intriguing option is this Japanese player, Minnetonka Murakami.
Yep.
Stearns went out to watch him, and he's kind of interesting, and he's got a bat, too. So that might be an interesting choice.
And when we look at the Yankees, and obviously they came a game shy of winning the AL East. They finished in a tie with the Blue Jays, but the Blue Jays wound up with the tiebreaker, and then the Yankees lose to the Blue Jays in the playoffs. This Yankee situation is fascinating because there's such a big part of the fan base, and a lot of people in the baseball and just general sports media feel like, well, maybe time has run its course for Brian Cashman. Maybe the Yankees need this new voice, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen anytime soon. So when you look at the way the Yankees are constructed, they've got some question marks. Is Cody Bellinger going to come back? Do the Yankees continue to fix the bullpen? When you look at the Yankees a year removed from getting to the World Series, is this a complete teardown and rebuild that's needed, or do you think the Yankees can get back to prominence by just tweaking things a little bit?
I think they need to look at their rotation, their bullpen, and their outfield. Their rotation is a problem because they're going to have Cole, Rodon, and Schmidt all starting the season on the IL. I mean, Rodon, they said it would just be a couple of weeks, but as far as I'm concerned, that's Yankee speak for maybe we'll see him after the All-Star break. So, you're talking about Cam Schlittler and Fried. I mean, those are your two certain guys. And you got a Will Warren and a Luis Heel floating around. You're going to have to construct a rotation for that April, May, June. So that's a concern for me.
Yeah.
Belly, I'd really like to have him back. He will exercise, or he is exercising his opt-out. I think he has a good bat, but he's versatile too. And I think the Mets should be going after Belly also. I mean, he can play outfield, he can play first base. And that's someone that the Mets could use as kind of, to play him against Alonso if they wanted.
Tony, you keep your hands off of Yankee property. No Cody Bellinger going to my producer Tony's Mets. I'm telling you.
Tony, don't make me go over there, Tony.
Now, yeah. So the whole Met Yankee thing leads me to my next question, and we have a few minutes left with Kelley Franco, the host of the 3 Inning Fan podcast. And Kelley, in the last week or so, when I've promoted the fact that you were going to be on the show, and I only picked this up from your social media, but you and I share something in common, and that is we are both in mixed marriages because I'm a Yankee fan and my wife is a Met fan, and I believe you're the Yankee fan in your household, and your husband is a Mets fan. So I will throw it. Did I get that right?
You did.
Okay, so let me throw this out there, and I'll follow it up with our end. How do you guys get along? Especially during baseball season.
We get along pretty well. One big plus is that I love the Mets booths, both the TV and the radio booths. So
Agreed.
I'm always game to watch the Mets. I mean, I never have a problem with it at all. The only time things get kind of like overly polite is when the Yankees and the Mets are playing each other.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a really like, how was your day, honey? kind of situation.
And see for me, it's worse when that happens because my wife and I had to compromise when we had our first child. So my wife got the Mets for the kids, I got the Islanders. So now when the Yankees play the Mets, I'm on an island by myself in the Schwartz household, to the point where like if the Yankees lose to the Mets, I mean, I get it for 24 hours until the next game. But we've been able to manage. It's a good thing we weren't together during the 2000 World Series because I think there would have been a lot of explosions in the house if that happened. But I just think we find a way to get along. I love going to Met games just as much as I love going to Yankee games. In fact, I hate to say this as a Yankee fan, I like Citi Field better than Yankee Stadium.
Citi Field is better. And not only that, but I love watching the Mets. I mean, they're a fun team. So I have no beef with Mets. See, Tony's already lining up my next appearance. He's like, oh, girl. He's good.
Before I say goodbye, tell everybody about your podcast, how they can catch it, consume it, and your other social media content.
Really appreciate that, Peter. I'm Kelley Franco with an EY on Kelley, so you can just Google me, or I'm at 3 Inning Fan. 3 is all spelled out on X, Instagram, and YouTube. And I would love if you drop me a subscription on my YouTube channel.
There you go. This was an absolute joy. We've been working on it for a while. Thankfully, we got it done. And let's definitely connect again during the off season as the hot stove gets underway, and we'll do this again at some point.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'll see you next time.
You got it. Kelley Franco, the host of the 3 Inning Fan podcast, joining us here on Sports Bash. Still more to come. When we come back here on the show, we're going to talk some hoops with the head coach of the Long Island Nets of the G League, Mfon Udofia. He's going to join us when we come back right after this.
Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by Ticketbash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. This segment of Sports Bash is brought to you by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage. Don't forget to mention Sports Bash and get a free dessert with your meal. Welcome back to the show. I'm Peter Schwartz. Phone number to call is 516-465-3990. Today was Long Island Nets Media Day at Nassau Coliseum as the G League season is about to get underway. And I usually go to Long Island Nets Media Day because usually it fits into my schedule, but today it did not because I had to host the show at the exact same time that they were doing Media Day. So we gave a little call to the Long Island Nets, say, hey, can we get somebody on the show and still talk about the Long Island Nets today? And we're doing just that. We welcome to Sports Bash the head coach of your Long Island Nets, Mfon Udofia. Mfon, it's Peter. How are you?
Hey, Peter, how you doing? Nice to have me on.
Oh, my pleasure, and thanks for taking some time out. I know it's Media Day is always hectic because you got all the photos going on, the players are getting pictures, physicals, all that thing, and you're meeting with the reporters, so I appreciate a little extra time on this Media Day. When you go through a day like today, and that means that the season is right around the corner, training camp has started, how excited are you for the start of the new season?
Very excited about our group. Very excited about the guys. We've had a tough 3 days of training camp so far, and those guys have been playing hard, very, very competitive, and just excited to get going.
What's your outlook for the season? In their history, the Nets have made the playoffs, a handful of times. There was 1 year where they got to the Eastern Conference, final. When you look at this roster and the team you've assembled, what's your outlook for the season?
Just to help these young men develop, as players, but also as people, help these young men develop as players, as people, and to kind of help speed up their process. It's going to take time, but with some of the guys being in the G League, they get those real live game reps. So help those guys speed up their process. So eventually, when they go play with the Brooklyn Nets, they're able to plug and play.
I'm glad you brought up in the same answer, you brought up a couple of things. You brought up development and you brought up Brooklyn Nets. And it's a question I've always asked you at Media Day, and I think it begs being answered again, because when people look at your team and the other teams in the G League, this question always pops up. How do you, as a head coach, balance developing players for Brooklyn, because that's the ultimate goal, is to get them to the NBA, versus also trying to win games here on Long Island? How does that balance work for you as a head coach?
That's a great question. just balancing I think it go hand in hand, with developing and winning. If we develop the player to be the best player he can be, ultimately he can help us win games, help the team win games. I think, especially with the players that will be going back and forth, those players get a chance to get real live game reps. They get a chance to mess up. They get a chance to miss a rotation or miss a box out.
Hmm.
They get a chance to play in the last 3 minutes of a tight game in the G League. So they can know what it feels like when they do get the opportunity with the Brooklyn Nets.
The players over the last few years that have gone back and forth, because that does happen. The Nets need an extra body, and they'll bring somebody up from your team. Have the players that have gone back and forth, is there like an affectionate name for the shuttle? Like, do they call it the LIRR, net shuttle, because you're going from Long Island to Brooklyn on the Long Island Railroad? Do they embrace that? Do they have an affectionate name for it?
They definitely embrace it. We try to make it a seamless process between the Long Island Nets and the Brooklyn Nets. But honestly, like with this organization, is a first class organization, and we breed development. And our head coach Jordy Fernandez, he does a really good job of integrating our staff together. And it's not just the Brooklyn Nets and the Long Island Nets. It's one club. And we treat it as such. And it's very good to see, because a lot of organizations not run that way.
Mfon Udofia is the head coach of the Long Island Nets, and he joins us here on Sports Bash. A few more minutes with him. When you look at your roster, and when fans come to the games, they wonder where these players come from. Obviously, some of them have been draft picks, some of them have been free agent signings. Tell fans who may not be familiar with coming to games, that may want to try something out at the Nassau Coliseum this year, give us a couple of names that people should look for when they look at your team this year.
I'm just gonna name a guy named Terry Roberts, right? He's a Long Island native. He's been with us going on for the past this is going on his third season with us. So that's a name you may recognize off the bat. Nate Williams, he's a kid that's from the upper New York area, upstate New York area, I may say. That's another name fans may be familiar with. But honestly, just all our guys, when you come to a Long Island Nets game, you're going to see a bunch of guys that are passionate. It's going to be exciting basketball. You're going to see guys that's going to play extremely hard. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun atmosphere.
And I have to tell you, I've been to games with my family, and it's an absolute joy coming to your games, because it's such a lively atmosphere. They do a great job with the game ops and the entertainment. And I know you've got your own concerns coaching the team, but you've been here for a few years now. How cool is it to see how these games are presented at Nassau Coliseum?
Oh, it's very cool. Like we have different theme nights, throughout the year, which is good to see. Our players wear different uniforms for that game, whatever the theme is for that game. But it's very cool to see. It's very cool to coach in a building like this. The historic building. I think I might be mistaken. Dr. J won 2 ABA championships.
He sure did. So
it's a really good feeling, especially as a head coach, to play in an arena like this.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, and you've seen my list of questions, because you've been great with transitioning from one into the next. But while most people look at the Nassau Coliseum's history and they look at the Islanders winning Stanley Cups, but there's a lot of basketball history in the Nassau Coliseum. You mentioned the New York Nets of the ABA, and they played in some NBA games, a couple of seasons at the Coliseum before they moved to New Jersey. And of course, there's been tons of high school, college games, and, the Harlem Globetrotters have played there. So for you as a coach, what's the feeling like when you step into that building every day and you're coaching in a building that has housed so many great basketball moments, especially Dr. J?
Yeah, no, I mean, I take it as a sense of pride, because he is a legend. He's a basketball legend. And Dr. J is a household name, if you know basketball, if you study the game of basketball, you hear that name. And for him to win 2 ABA championships in this building, and for me to be the head coach of the Long Island Nets and to coach these guys up in this building, I take it as a sense of pride. People always ask me, around the community, like, so where are the games? I was like, the Nassau Coliseum, and they just speak so highly of this building and stuff like that. So I'm extremely happy about that.
Well, I remember there was one time I went with my family, and we got fortunate. We were invited to come to the game, and I like to call it the Spike Lee seats, because our feet were on the floor.
Okay.
And this is really cool for people. And if you want to try and give yourself a treat one night, it was the one night, the only night in my life I've ever had my feet on the floor for a basketball game. And it was at one of your games. And it was so cool. And it was a few years ago when my kids were a little younger. And during the timeout, the referee comes over and hands my kid the basketball and the other one during the next timeout. And I think you get such an incredible feel for the game. I think if you just go sit, in the upper reaches, I don't think you get the feel of the game. But when you sit down on the court, I would love to do that again. That was such a cool night. And do you buy that? Like, if you have to experience that once in your life, at least, to see what the basketball game looks like from right down on the court.
No, for sure. I think it's a really cool experience, especially like I mentioned before, the G League is a really good league and is a development league, and it's a league where, the referees are developing, the players are developing, the coaches are developing. So you're going to see extreme passion, especially if you're sitting courtside and your feet is on the floor. You're going to see the guys playing hard. You're going to hear the guys talking. So it's going to be your adrenaline is going to be pumping for sure, because you're going to just see the enthusiasm and the passion the guys are going to be playing for. So if you're not able to make it out to a Brooklyn Nets game, you can always come out to a Long Island Nets game and just experience this, just the atmosphere.
Absolutely. It's a great experience. And the season opens with the home opener on Friday, November 7th against the Capital City Go-Go. Then you'll have your first meeting with the rival Westchester Nets on December 10th in Westchester. Mfon Udofia, the head coach of the Long Island Nets, thank you so much for spending some time with us on a busy day, media day at the Coliseum, and we will definitely see you at some games this season.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you so much. Mfon Udofia, head coach of your Long Island Nets. Well, it is now time for What's Hot at ticketbash.com on the local sports calendar. We'll start with soccer. NYCFC is going to host Charlotte in an MLS playoff game this Saturday afternoon at Yankee Stadium. On Sunday, the Giants host the 49ers, the Islanders host the Blue Jackets, the Knicks host the Bulls, and the Nets host the 76ers. And I can tell right away my updates on WFAN Sunday night are going to be very, very busy with all those local teams in action. Also, Friday is Game 6 of the World Series, so you can get your tickets for those games at ticketbash.com as well. It's the Dodgers and Blue Jays in Toronto, and a Game 7, if necessary, would be Saturday night also in Toronto. Upcoming shows and concerts. Bryan Adams is at the Garden tonight with special guest Pat Benatar. Sabrina Carpenter is at the Garden on Friday night. John Legend will play Barclays Center on November 4th. The Jonas Brothers are at UBS Arena November 19th and December 21st. Get tickets to these events and more at the lowest prices with no service fees at ticketbash.com. It's time for the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. We post a new question every Tuesday and Thursday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. And this is for all you Islander fans, and the Islanders are playing tonight. So, of course, I got my hat on. So we'll watch the Islanders take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Actually, I'll miss a little bit of that game because I'm doing public address for the LIU men's hockey team tonight. So I'll be keeping an eye on the Islanders while I'm working the LIU men's hockey game. So this is for you Islander fans. Should the team call up forward Cal Ritchie from Bridgeport? Now, again, if you don't know who that is, he's the big player that the Islanders acquired in the Brock Nelson trade. And since he came back from injury, 3 games for Bridgeport, he's got 3 points, including 1 last night. So that's the question. Should they call him up right now for some instant offense? And the 2 choices are, yes, get him on that ferry, the Port Jeff ferry from Bridgeport to Long Island, or no, he needs more time. Tony, I know you don't like to rush guys too much from the minor leagues, but this guy's on fire already in the minor leagues, and I think the Islanders might need a little bit of a spark. What do you think?
Maybe they need a little bit of a spark, but they've, they started off bad, but they're coming back.
Yeah.
No, I'm a fan of letting them
giving
cook
them
a
time.
little bit.
Let him cook a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say let him cook a little bit. I think you're going to see him up here sooner rather than later. It's time for the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. It is a Jets Breece Hall framed 11x14 autograph photo. Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. For more information, visit coachescollectiblesny.com. Now, it's our new weekly feature here on the Thursday show. It's called Dad's Time to Brag. And I love to talk about my family here on the program and certainly the kids who are very athletically involved. And let's start with Jared, who's an assistant coach for the Clemson flag football team in our Community Flag Football League. And this Sunday, the Tigers close out the regular season as Coach Rob, Coach Jared, and all the players tune up for the playoffs. And what they hope is a nice long playoff run and a run at the Super Bowl title, which they just missed out on losing in the Super Bowl last year. And I know that Coach Rob and Coach Jared have been spending countless hours watching video, talking on the phone, texting, making sure that they get the right formula working in that postseason run. But they got one more regular season game to get things tuned up, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see a nice long playoff run from Clemson. This Saturday, Bradley and the Post Eagles continue their season on the road against American International College. We'll be going up to Springfield, Massachusetts for that one. Last Saturday's game against Franklin Pierce, Bradley got a Pro Football Focus long snapping rating of 95, bringing his season total up to 91.3, which is pretty cool. And congrats to his teammate, kicker Nathan Hawkins, on a career-best 31-yard field goal last week's game. Good luck to Bradley and the Eagles this week against American International. The 4th annual Marty Lyons Foundation Evening of Thanks Gala is coming up on Thursday, November 13th at the Bourne Mansion in Oakdale. The foundation will be honoring wishes granted in 2025 and members of the Marty Lyons Foundation family. And there's going to be some raffle prizes. You love to win free stuff at these things with the Marty Lyons Foundation. They always have some really cool raffle prizes and a special live wish reveal, which there was not a dry eye in the house last year when they did this. So you're going to want to see that. For more information, go to martylyonsfoundation.org. And also, speaking of charity initiatives, the John Thiessen Children's Foundation will hold their annual holiday gala on Thursday, December 4th at Mulcahy's in Wantagh. The foundation is celebrating 34 years of giving. For more information, visit jtcf.org or call 516-679-5098. And we just found out today John Thiessen will be here in studio with us as an FOP, because I have known him for a very, very long time. November 11th, John Thiessen in studio. We'll talk about the foundation, and we'll also talk about the gala, and we'll talk a little sports with John Thiessen, a huge sports fan. I visited his new operation in Wantagh. It's been open for a while. We used to stop by the old one near the Wantagh train station all the time, and now he took over this big house on Wantagh Avenue in Wantagh, and it's a great facility for the kids that come there. They've got video games. I got to see it yesterday. I stopped by to say hello. An amazing job that John Thiessen has done with that Children's Foundation over the years. Now, next week on Sports Bash, both shows will be on our regular scheduled time of 1 o'clock, and I am really looking forward to this on Tuesday. On Tuesday, November 4th, and he does not do a lot of interviews, and we're very, very lucky to have him. But I'll be joined by former Islanders defenseman Dave Langevin, a member of all 4 Islanders Stanley Cup championship teams. They called him the Bammer, and he's going to be on the program this Tuesday, November 4th, to talk to us. On Thursday, November 6th, we'll be joined in studio by singer Mark McLaughlin and former NFL player Gary Brown, who will be part of the 2nd annual We Huddle to Help flag football game on November 15th at Stotsky Park in Riverhead. And I think that, did I miss anything, Tony?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Everything got in, and we don't have to go overtime.
Clarity.
What's that? Oh, that's right. We didn't get to it because I was wasn't done spewing about Woody Johnson. Let me just take 30 seconds. I don't know if you saw the news, and I was going to bring it up with Kelley, but I forgot about it because I'm getting old. Yes Network has made some changes. John Flaherty, the Yankees' longtime analyst in studio and at games. Sometimes he's done a little play-by-play, but he was with Yes Network for 20 years, and he was part of an exodus yesterday. The Yankees letting go of 3 analysts, and he was one of them. And I'll tell you what, he was a joy to listen to on Yankee broadcast. Very, very insightful. I always found him to be really, really good on the pre- and post-game show. I thought that was his bread and butter when he was in the studio analyzing games, and we'll miss him on Yankee broadcast going forward. And it just sounds like the Yankees are consolidating the Yes Network TV team, and maybe that'll mean more consistency in what you see. Maybe Michael Kay will work some more games, and he'll be with David Cohn and Tino Martinez and Joe Girardi a lot more, but at the expense of John Flaherty. We wish him nothing but the best, and I'm sure you're going to see him pop up, somewhere on television, MLB Network, ESPN, and one of these new Fakakta streaming services that'll have games next year. They'll pick him up. He is an absolute gem to watch on television. And that will do it for this edition of Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Thanks to my guest, Kelley, Franco, and Long Island Nets head coach Mfon Udofia. Thanks to our social media coordinator, Connor Kalb. And thanks to Tony Walker and everyone at Governors. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, by Coaches Collectibles, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation. For our entire crew, I'm Peter Schwartz. Thanks for watching and listening. We are back on Tuesday. Dave Langevin, the former Islander, is going to be on the show with us Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everybody.